The number of Americans living on the streets has broadly risen this year, Michael Snyder reports. Joe Biden and the mainstream media keep telling us that the economy is in good shape, but we continue to get more evidence that directly contradicts this assertion. Over the past few years, the cost of living has been rising much more rapidly than paychecks have, and this has absolutely eviscerated the middle class. So many families that were once thriving financially are now deeply struggling, and so many that were once deeply struggling to make ends meet are now living on the streets. And according to a comprehensive analysis that was just conducted by the Wall Street Journal, the number of homeless people in the United States has broadly risen this year. They say the number of homeless people counted on the streets and in shelters around the U.S. has broadly risen this year, according to Wall Street Journal review of data from around the nation. The journal reviewed data from 150 entities that count homeless people in areas ranging from cities to entire states. More than 100 places reported increases in early 2023 counts compared with 2022, and collectively their numbers indicate the U.S. might see a sharper climb than in recent years. Most major urban areas reporting data so far have seen increases, including Chicago, Miami, Boston, and Phoenix. We should all be deeply saddened by what we are witnessing. Overall, the number of homeless Americans has increased by 9% just since last year. The journal received data from 67 of the 100 locales with the highest homeless counts last year, along with many others. Preliminary data show 48 of those 67 reported an increase this year, with combined counts up 9% from the numbers HUD published for those places in 2022 and 13% since 2020. Some places said comparisons to 2020 are better because of counting disruptions during the pandemic. Of course, those that do these counts openly acknowledge that they are undercounting the homeless population. A lot of the homeless are very suspicious of social workers and they simply do not want to be found. But even if we want to accept the number that they are able to count, having nearly 600,000 Americans sleeping on streets definitely qualifies as a major national crisis. In San Diego, the homelessness crisis is worse than it has ever been before. In just the last 7 months, 580 tons of trash has been collected from homeless encampments in the city. In the 7 months since the city of San Diego launched the Hotspot program, it has collected 580 tons of trash from the streets and sidewalks around homeless encampments. Our streets are not as clean as they need to be, Mayor Todd Gloria said last week. He said our ongoing crisis of homeless encampments is making that problem worse, and we have to make our streets safe and sanitary, he said. Gloria is apparently not a fan of the homeless. During a recent press conference, he stated that the homeless had turned one of San Diego's most prominent parks into a giant toilet. He says they expect to be able to walk on sidewalks unobstructed, they expect to be able to get their children to school safely, and they expect to be able to use our parks in a hygienic and clean and safe way, Mayor Gloria said in a press conference in Balboa Park Friday. And this park, he says, like all of our parks, are not a homeless shelter. It's not a place to live. It's not a giant toilet. It's not a trash dump, Gloria said. But if they can't go in the park, where are they supposed to go? Thanks to the disastrous policies of our leaders, our economy is being destroyed and these people cannot afford homes of their own. So what are they supposed to do? Of course, it's true that a substantial portion of the homeless are addicts, and as their numbers explode, it's causing crime to spike in communities all over the country. High rates of homelessness have been given rise to increased crime in major cities in America. Major cities in California are also seeing residents flee to greener pastures like Texas and Colorado amid spiraling quality of life. Meanwhile, New York City is crumbling under a wave of migrants bussed to the city from U.S.-Mexico border. Democratic New York City Mayor Eric Adams signed an executive order last month that limits the effect of New York City laws regulating how the city provides shelter to homeless people and migrants. And under the new rules, the city no longer guarantees that families with children will have a bed by 4 a.m. if they make it to a city intake facility by 10 p.m. Once upon a time, young people flocked to New York and Washington, D.C., and San Francisco and Los Angeles. But now we're seeing a net exodus from those cities due to all of the crime, drug abuse, and homelessness that are plaguing those cities. New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. are all seeing a net exodus of college graduates, as in San Jose. Those four cities are typically the finish line for those seeking jobs in media, politics, entertainment, finance, or technology. As New Yorkers used to boast, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. For many college graduates, the goal was to make it in one of those four big brand cities. No longer. All four are plagued by a crime crisis that has bled out from those icky poor areas of the city that college graduates avoided and into the rest of the city. New York City's public transportation is not safe. San Francisco is plagued by homelessness. Los Angeles actively refuses to keep criminals and members of gangs off the street. Washington cannot even guarantee the safety of members of Congress in their own apartments. If things are this bad now, how bad will the homelessness crisis be once we get deep into the next recession? This is about as good as things are going to get. During the months and years that are ahead of us, we're going to see so much suffering. And if you're still doing okay, it can be really easy to look down on the homeless, but we must not do that. Because the truth is that most of us are just a bad break or two away from financial disaster. So let us have compassion on those who are sleeping on the streets, because more Americans are joining their ranks with each passing day. This is by Michael Snyder, and he says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News. And the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. And this is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.